Hello guys and welcome. I am Ahmed Adel and this is Cost Engineering Professional, and in this video we'll continue talking about the principles of measurement international, and we will be talking about section A, which is the general requirements. So let's start. Alright guys, welcome back. Previously here on the channel we have talked about the introduction to POMI, and we have talked about the content of POMI, and we have talked about the general principles of POMI, which is section GP. I'll leave the links to all these videos down in the description, but in this video we'll be starting our actual BOQ, starting with the first section, section A, which is the general requirements. So what are the contents of this section, or what are the subsections that we will be talking about here? We'll talk first thing about conditions of contract, specification, restrictions, contractors' administrative arrangements, and constructional plant, employers' facilities, contractors' facilities, temporary works, and sundry items. So these are the subsections that we will be talking about when it comes to section A, which is the general requirements. So starting with the conditions of contract, what the POMI says here: a schedule of the clause headings shall be set out in the bill of quantities, where there is an appendix to the conditions of contract requiring insertions to be made. A schedule of the insertions shall be set out in the bill of quantities. And what is the meaning of that? In the contract that the contractor will have with the employer, there will be clause headings like termination, insurances, contract price, general. So many clause headings will be there. So if there is any of these conditions of contract or these clause headings is having a cost impact on the project due to agreeing on this particular clause or condition, then these clause headings, we can put them in a schedule, and we can allow the contractor to price for each, or to allow for each of these section headings if they are having a cost impact on the project. So for example, the section heading or the clause which is called termination. Sometimes there is something called termination at convenience, which gives the right to the employer to terminate the contract at any point of time, just at convenience, without having any problems or without the contractor doing anything wrong. So in that case, this condition in the perspective of the contractor is having a cost impact because it's a risk. So he needs to price for doing this clause or for agreeing for this clause. So such things will be there in that schedule, where we will list all the section headings that we have, or clause headings, and the contractor can price for them. So this is regarding the conditions of contract. So if the conditions of contract is having a cost impact on the project, then we need to keep them in a schedule where the contractor can price each of these section headings. Number 2 here, specifications, where the specification contains clauses related to any of the following general requirements, which we will be talking about now. The bills of quantity shall make reference to the appropriate clauses. So all our general requirements, if there are specifications for these general requirements, then we have to refer to these specifications in the BOQ. If, for example, you have some specifications for the site office, how the site office should be, what is the size of the site office, how many site offices should be provided, all these things should be mentioned in the BOQ so that the contractor can know exactly what he is pricing for and what is required from him. Remember, doing a BOQ in accordance with POMI is a high standard BOQ. It's a BOQ prepared in accordance with a standard method of measurement, an international standard method of measurement. So it should include all these small details. Number 3 here, restrictions. So particulars shall be given of any restrictions which shall include. So if you have any restrictions in the project, then you have to give some particulars here. Particulars shall be given in case of any restrictions. What are the restrictions that we can have? Access and position or use of the site. Limitations of working space, like if the working space is limited, then the contractor needs to hire, for example, the adjacent plot to put his material, to store his material, to put his site office. This thing, it has a cost. So that should come in the BOQ, and he should allow for doing that. Limitation of working hours, the maintenance of existing services on, under, or over the site, then the execution or completion of the work in any specific order, sections or phases, items of a like nature. So what they are trying to say here, if there are any items that will put some restrictions on the contractor, then we have to give particulars for these items. We have to mention them in the BOQ so that the contractor can allow some money to do these works under these restrictions. I hope it is clear. So this is point number 3. Point number 4 here, contractors' administrative arrangement. An item shall be given for contractors' administrative arrangements, which shall include site administration, supervision, security, safety, health and welfare of work people, transport of work people. So these things comes under contractors' administrative arrangements. Any administrative arrangements that the contractor will need to do this project should come in the BOQ, and the contractor should be able to allow money for these items. So the contractor should be able to put money in the BOQ for the site administration, the project manager and the construction manager and the site engineer. These people are not loaded on any other BOQ items. So we should allow for them here in this section. Supervision, security, health and safety and all these things, transportation and so on. So contractors' administrative arrangements should come under the general requirements, section A of the POMI BOQ. Okay, point number 5 here, constructional plant. So what they are saying, an item shall be given for constructional plant, which shall include, so we need to keep items for the plant that will be used for the construction. And it can include small plant and tools, and it can include also scaffoldings required, cranes and lifting plant, site transport, plant required for specific trades. Here means subcontracts or some specific jobs in the project. If they need some plant, then we have to allow for this under the constructional plant in the general requirements, which is section A. Point number 6 here, employers' facilities. So particulars shall be given of any facilities required for the employer or the employer's representatives. And these shall include temporary accommodation, for example, if there is an accommodation or housing required for the employer or his representatives, then this temporary accommodation should be allowed for in the BOQ because it's a cost on the contractor. Then he must allow for this so he can provide these accommodations. So for example, offices, laboratories, living accommodation, including heating, cooling, lighting, furnishing, attendance, or related facilities. Anything that is required should be mentioned clearly in the BOQ so that it can be allowed for. Telephones, including costs of calls. Alternatively, the cost of calls may be given as a sum. So telephones and all these things should be allowed for in the BOQ as well. Attendance of staff, for example, drivers, laboratory assistants, and so on. So the staff attendance should be there. Equipment, for example, surveyor. These are things related to the employer, guys, not to the contractor. Okay? So attendance of staff, for example, drivers or laboratory assistants, if the employer wants to do some tests in a laboratory or something like that. Equipment, for example, surveyor laboratory equipment. Then social requirements for programs or progress charts. If the employer has some special requirements to give some program or some progress charts, these things have costs so that they should come in the BOQ so the contractor can price these items. After that, any other facilities like progress photographs, signboards, all this stuff, again, these are costs, so they should come in the general requirements so that the contractor can price for providing these items to the project. Okay, point number 7 here, contractors' facilities. So an item shall be given for the facilities required by the contractor, and these facilities shall include accommodation and buildings, including offices, laboratories, compounds, stores, mess rooms, and living accommodation. Then temporary fencing, if the project requires a temporary fencing around it so that people outside cannot see the works. So the temporary fencing should come under the general requirements, including hoarding, screens, roofs, and guardrails, all this stuff required for the temporary fencing. Then temporary roads, if you need to create a temporary access road. Sometimes you need to level the road and do some compaction and maintain it daily. So these things should come under the general requirements, including hard standings and crossings and all this stuff. Water for the works, particulars shall be given if water will be supplied to the contractor. Then lighting and power for the works, again particulars shall be given if current will be supplied to the contractor, and temporary telephones, and particulars shall be given where the nature or the extent of the facilities is not at the discretion of the contractor. This word will be repeated with us in so many sections and in so many subsections in the POMI, and I want to explain this briefly. So they are saying that you should give particulars where the nature or extent of whatever required is not at the discretion of the contractor. So what is the meaning of that? What is the meaning of the word discretion? Discretion is the freedom to make decisions on such situations. So this is the discretion. If you have the freedom to make a decision on something, then this thing is at your discretion. But what if this thing is not at the discretion of you or of the contractor? So you don't have the freedom to make a decision on that. It is something that is required and you have to comply with this particular thing. So in that case, we need to give particulars. We need to put an item in the BOQ for the items that will be required from the contractor, and he doesn't have a choice but to do them. So this word, like here, when we are talking about contractors' facilities, if we need to force him to provide something that it is not his choice to not provide it, then we need to keep an item in the BOQ for that. This word will be here under contractors' facilities and also temporary works, subsection number 8. An item shall be given for temporary works, which shall include traffic diversion, if the access to the site requires you to divert some traffic or make some diversions. Again, access roads, bridges, cofferdams, pumping, dewatering, compressed air for tunneling, and such stuff. So any temporary works should come in the general requirements BOQ. And again, particulars shall be given where the nature or the extent of the temporary works is not at the discretion of the contractor. Again, we explained this, that if you are forcing him to do something that he doesn't have a choice to provide or not, then you have to give him this item in the BOQs so that he can allow for this work or this nature of work. Okay, subsection number 9, sundry items. And sundry items, guys, means some miscellaneous small items. So this is what we mean always everywhere in the POMI by sundry items. So what about sundry items? An item shall be given for sundry items, which shall include testing of materials, testing of the works, protecting the works from inclement weather, removing rubbish, protective casings and coverings, and cleaning the works at completion, traffic regulations, maintenance of public and private roads, drying the works, control of noise and pollution, all statutory obligations. So all these things are sundry items, miscellaneous small items, but they have to be there in your general requirements so that the contractor can price them or allow for them, so that they are in his contract and he has allowed for some money to execute these things because they are required. Okay, so that's it for this video. This is all about the general requirements. Thank you so much for watching and I appreciate your valuable time. If you have enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to get notified of all the upcoming videos, because I am going to be doing the complete POMI as we discussed earlier. And two things before you go: this presentation is made via Canva, a very nice platform. I love them. I believe it is the best way to make professional presentations, and I leave the link in the description down below so that you can visit them and sign up for free. The second thing is our online courses. I'll also leave the links to them: quantity surveying, cost estimation, and procurement. Ton of information is there and I hope you enjoy them. And that's it. Thank you so much again for watching, and Cost Engineering Professional out. Bye bye.